Hey, what's up, YouTube? I'm back again with another review. Since it's Fire Prevention Month, I decided to show you guys some of my old turnout gear and gear that I've collected that's fire service related. So over here, we got our MSA Top Guard. Now this is the early version with the metal D-ring. Later on they changed them to plastic. I have one of those too, but the plastic D-ring either broke or melted off, unfortunately. These are identifiable by the big hump on the top, and then the pillars on the corners right here, here, and here. And I have a reproduction LA County Station 51 helmet shield on there. And then what was originally on there were these reflective strips, and it looks like there used to be one on the back too. On the inside you can see it's very, very basic and plain. The ones that we have nowadays are a lot more heavier, and they're a lot more durable, but these ones were good for its time. This is the same style that you see in the TV show Emergency. This is the same style of helmet that most fire departments used from the late 60s all the way up into the very early 80s. Next, we have our turnout gear, or this is the only piece that I really have, is the turnout coat. You can see it's got 4 metal clips and like a gusset cover. And then on the back you can see has some letters on there. So pretty much how to read this is, this would be the city or town, and then the V usually or should always stand for volunteer. So it would, let's just say Hope Volunteer Fire Company. The CO stands for company, and the VF will stand for volunteer fire. So I don't know what town this came from. I originally bought the helmet and the coat together, but the helmet actually had a different shield on it that did not match this HV FCO. And then as you can see, it's really long, and it has 2 pockets. It's burnt up a little bit, and has reflective strips on the edges and on the cuffs and on the middle here. This is a globe turnout coat. I'd estimate this one is from the late 70s all the way up to the early 80s. The liner does not come out on them like the modern ones do, but still has that third layer. So you got your exterior layer. Most of them nowadays are ripstop, and of course this is fire retardant as well. And then you have this almost like a rubberized layer that's not quite fire retardant. It's like that on the modern ones too, but that just protects you from bloodborne pathogens, oil, gasoline, and any other liquid chemicals that you might come in contact with. And then you got this inner lining right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on for you guys. Now, in the era that this turnout coat was made, they did have turnout pants, but it wasn't very common for them to use them. They either did, or they'd use those really tall turnout boots that would flip over and they would cover their knees. But I just have the jacket. I'll do the clips for you. And then some of the tools that you might have is forcible entry tools. This is my spanner wrench, the same style that they used on Emergency, the same style that the LA County Fire used, and California Fire used. Then here's your pass alarm. You guys have seen my review of this. A pass alarm is pretty much this alarm that will go off if the firefighter isn't moving or has stayed still for, let's say, 30 seconds. I think it's about that. These really weren't a thing until the late 80s, and they've just gotten better over the years. And then last but not least, the more interesting piece is we have our SCBA, our self-contained breathing apparatus. This is the MSA 401 SCBA. This is the same style that they had on Emergency, and that's why I got it, is from my Emergency collection. This is pretty basic, thin padding, adjustable shoulder straps, a chest strap, kidney pad, waist belt, You have your regulator, which nowadays our regulators actually clip onto our masks. They're not like that anymore. And you have the tank itself, and you got your gauge here. As you can see, it still has air in it. So I will show you guys, or I will flow air, and you can see it says MSA 401 on there. And looks like it says RFD on there, so some type of fire department. This thing is really heavy. The new ones are pretty heavy as well, but they're definitely a lot better. And then you have your MSA UltraView face piece, which usually has a Hollywood strap, or at least that's what we call it, just to let the mask hang down so you don't have to put it down on the ground or put it back in its carrier. Back in the day, they didn't have separate carriers, so how this was stored was it would sit on the engine, and pretty much like that. Now, back then they didn't have covered compartments for these things, so the sun would dry rot this rubber and pretty much destroy the mask. So nowadays we actually have a pouch that will hang off on our turnout coat and just keep it there, really. So, alright. I'll turn on the air without putting it on first, just because this one is a little bit confusing. So you hear that bell, and you know that you're flowing air. You're supposed to turn it all the way like so. There's a couple ways that you can put these things on. You can kneel down on the ground and throw it around, or you could throw it on like an old rucksack, but I usually just put them on just the way that I did. Of course, nowadays we have really nice fire engines to where this idea has actually been around for a little while, to where the SCBA will sit in the seat that you're sitting on. So there's like a little lever on the seat to where you get in the truck, you put your arms through the SCBA straps, you put your seatbelt on, and then once you get to the scene, you take the seatbelt off, you push the lever to release the pack, and then you're ready to go. So this should flow air when I put this on. Let's test it out. Alright, so now we're flowing air, and you really can't hear me too good, and my mask keeps on fogging up, but that's just how it was back in the day. Now I can clear the regulator by opening up this other valve that will flush air into the mask, and you'll hear the loud noise. Now, what that does is it drains your tank really fast, but in some situations it can sort of cool you off. When you're in a structure fire, the air in your tank also gets hot too. So if you do that to wick sweat away from your face or to help cool you off, I haven't experienced it, but from people that have told me that have, it's essentially feels like someone holding a hairdryer right in front of your face. So that I can't imagine is too fun, but yeah. I'll try it, or I'll show you guys what it looks like with the helmet on too. Alright, so normally you would do the chin strap. I'm not going to, just for the video. But this is sort of how it would have looked. A firefighter would have looked back in the mid to late 70s. It's just sort of like this. It's really basic. You have your helmet, your air mask, and your turnout coat. Now, of course, you would have gloves and your turnout boots, but that's pretty much it. It's definitely changed a lot, and since back in the day. Nowadays, we wear the MSA G1, which is the state-of-the-art SCBA, to where we have indicator lights in our mask that will tell us if we're going out of air. We have the pass device. It's built into the SCBA to where you don't have to turn on this and the SCBA separately. As soon as you flow air, the pass alarm will automatically turn on, and it's a safety device that really helps a lot, to where, let's say you go into a structure fire and you have one of these things but you forgot to turn it on, then it doesn't do you any good. Or let's say you have it on but then it fell off. Well, after you leave the building, it's going to go off, and it's going to make people think that someone's still in there. So then it becomes more harm than it's doing good. So that's why they integrated the system, and that's really cool too. Not only do we have the better indicator lights and whatnot, but you guys could probably barely hear me while I was wearing this thing on. And nowadays we have built-in microphones that are permanently attached too, so that's really nice too. And some will even have on the regulator that hangs down up here a thermal imaging camera that we could use while in a structure fire, and that's really cool too. So yeah guys, this is pretty much it. I built most of my collection off of Emergency, the old TV show of the LA County paramedics. Of course, they had tan turnout gear. I can't quite find one of their turnout coats, but I managed to get my hands on the same helmet and SCBA. So that's the turnout gear of a fireman from the 70s. I hope you guys enjoyed their video. Keep in mind, it is Fire Prevention Month, so check your smoke alarms, don't play with fire, stop, drop, and roll if you're on fire, the basic stuff. If you guys have any questions about this stuff or want to know more about it, just go ahead and let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a nice day.